ears, and our lips. Everybody, our ears and our lips. Now, we were told to keep our eyes open and our mouths shut. But when it was our time, we used our ears and used our lips to spread a powerful lot of information. And we did it through the words. Oh, now, yes, there were serious things, mind you. Real serious things to deal with when I was young. But there was a way that we had to spread the news around so our children would know what to do when they kept their eyes open and their mouths shut. Why? Some of y'all folks open up books and look at the stories and chuckle to yourself, but you never really realize just how much them stories is teaching you. Why, those are all I had when I was growing up. How many of y'all folks out there ever had a Brer Rabbit? Oh, way too few people done raised their hands. Y'all folks are high learning, ain't done your job. I see I'm gonna have to do a little extracurricular teaching here tonight. Now, Brer Rabbit, he done traveled from way, way far away from here. How many of y'all folks ever heard of Africa? Oh, wait a minute, y'all done a good job. A lot more people know about that. Well, he made a transition, like, because way, way, way in that place, that was all of the home of black folks, far as the eye could see, we had ways of passing stories down. And we had our favorite characters, mind you. And one of them was Kalula the rabbit. And I just imagine somewhere twixt the motherland and the place they done set us down on, he up and changed his name just like the rest of us did. Well, not volunteering, Mike, but anyway. Now, Brother Brer Rabbit had his ways about it. Now, mind you, some of them was good and some of them was not so good. But he was able to use something deep down inside of him that a lot of us didn't have. The power to use. It was the word. What was it? The word. And the word was think. What was the word? Think. Think on your feet. Now, he done come to a meeting not invited you, mind you. Because folks didn't want to burn out too close to what they was planning to do, because he might sort of boxed it up in their minds. But folks were talking about that there Brer Fox. He did just like he did every year. He done grabbed up all the food after the harvest. Barely nothing left off the ground to pick up from and carry himself into the next year. So folks were sitting around trying to figure out what to do. But folks had one thing they always thought about. Brer Fox's sharp teeth. But Brer Rabbit didn't care about Brer Fox's teeth, because he know his feet could outrun him anytime. So he listened to everybody moaning and groaning and complaining and such, and he said, what's wrong with y'all? Y'all talking, but you just don't have a plan. Now, I tell you, if you listen to me, this is what we're going to do. Bird went around the whole room. And that next morning, everybody, that's right, everybody was at their assigned position. Now, there was folks in the forest over there. Let me see all your folks over there. Raise your hand. Y'all ready? And there was folks in the forest back there. Let me see everybody raise their hand back there. And then all the other creatures gathered around, waiting for the signal. Now, here come Brer Rabbit, just like he liked to do, down the road, just hopping and skipping and hopping and skipping. What was he doing? Hopping and skipping, hopping and skipping. I'm glad y'all were listening. Now, in his hand, he had him a hank of rope. And he passed Brer Fox's hole, and he let out with a little dig. Tie me down, wind blow. Tie did you? But I promised this possum that I would take this rope and tie her and all her children to the tree so they wouldn't get blown up. Burr Fox looked at him with his big eyes and his long teeth, and he said, "Rabbit, I said I want you to take that there rope and tie me to this here tree." Well, Burr Rabbit's knees commenced to shake, and his eyes was looking here and there. He said, "Well, Burr Fox, if you absolutely want me to, I sure would oblige you." And he tied Burr Fox to the tree. And Burr Fox was helping him all the while now. He sucked in his stomach and said, "Tie that tighter. Are you sure you got all my foots in there?" And when Burr Rabbit was finished, he looked at Burr Fox and said, "Burr Fox, is you comfortable?" Fox said, "Sure I am. Just go on about your business now." Burr Rabbit said, "Are you sure you can't get out?" Burr Fox said, "Sure I am. Now go on about your business now." Well, Burr Rabbit did just that. He took his big long foots and commenced pounding his signal on the ground. And all the folks come out the forest and scooped themselves right down in Burr Fox's hole and walked up all their fiddles they took time to grow. Well, I tell you, I know it's been a long, long time since I traveled that part of the forest. But you know, unless some was fool enough to let him go, Burr Fox is sitting there still.
Thank you. I think we can do a little bit better than that for Brandy Brunch, also known as
in our tradition, where we invoke the Lord's presence. Lord, we invoke your presence this evening and ask your blessings on the ensuing program. As a college, help us to be worthy of our leadership and guidance responsibilities. Lord, may we continue to impart peace, friendship, and justice in all of our academic endeavors and in our daily lives. Help us to know that these values are rooted in discipleship. Lord, we pray to live as a disciplined, faithful community. Help us to bring these desires to fruition. We ask that the new Africana Resource Center enables us to open our eyes to the contributions of Africans and African Americans towards the melding of our communities into places of love and harmony. Bless our speaker, who will impart words of wisdom. Bless, we pray, our president, our faculty, our students, and the communities of the world. These and all other blessings we ask in thy name. Amen.
Thank you. For those of you who are not familiar with our Medgar Evers College family, the invocation was brought by Dr. Roberta Mays, who is the chair and a full professor in the Division of Education and also a member of our resource board. And now, we would like to officially welcome all of you to the opening of the Africana Resource Center for Elementary Schools at Medgar Evers College. Please feel welcome. This is my co-director, Dr. Florence Taeger. I almost said Dr.
It's what happens when you work together for so many years. You get confused at who's who at this point. It's been 18 years Charlotte and I came to the college together, and when we put this up, we've been together night and day for the last 6 months. But at any rate, I also want to welcome you and extend our hope that you will make good use of the center, that people will come and visit us. The center will be open every day from 2 to 6, except Friday. On Friday, we were reserving for, in February, starting school visits. So we hope that you will make good use of the center. The center will have, Charlotte will tell a little bit more about it.
Well, the center is actually opening in phases. This is phase 1, the official opening tonight. In preparation for phase 1, we have begun the initial acquisition of materials for the center. And the center does house, not yet completed, but it does house all of the following: books, cassette tapes, video cassettes, film strips, curriculum guides, a few primary source documents, unit and lesson plans, and in fact this time we're very proud to extend our greetings and our thanks to this month's display. Our unit display this month is by Sandra Smiling and her class 1-104 at Public School 11 in District 13. Sandra's a graduate of Medgar Evers, and we're very proud of her and her impact to Grant. So that was phase 1. Phase 2, which Dr. Taeger will tell you about, is the inauguration of our lecture workshop series.
Well, Dr. Malefi Asante is our keynote speaker to open the lecture workshop series. There will be a series of 7 lectures and 6 workshops. The lectures will be on Friday night, 1 a month, and inside your folder there's a listing of the lecture workshop series. The lectures will be on a variety of topics in the oral tradition, and the workshops will translate that knowledge into curriculum materials for children, so that you can come Friday night to hear the lecture for an hour or 2, and on Saturday for most of the day you will then work with paper mache and clay and storybooks and translate that into materials you can use with children in the classroom. The first speaker is Miss Joan Maynard from Weeksville Society, who will talk about oral history, and then we'll have a workshop on the oral tradition and doing oral history with children. The second workshop will be Dr. Bernice Johnson Reagan, who some of you may know is one of the lead singers from Sweet Honey in the Rock, and who also works at the Smithsonian Institute, and will speak about music and the oral tradition. And the workshop will follow that on Saturday. And you can see the rest. We have Dr. John Henry Clark, we have Quincy Troop. There's a series of very interesting people, and we're very excited. We hope you will enjoy it.
Now, phase 3 of the opening will be when we open up the center to teachers and their classes. We expect to inaugurate phase 3 in honor of Black History Month in February. So we've gotten a lot of calls from teachers who are ready to bring their classes now. Unfortunately, we're not ready for you in that area yet, but by February, we will be opening our doors to classroom visits probably on Friday mornings. So we look forward to sending out the announcements about that phase. And then phase 4 is the newsletter and also the Summer Institute. And those will be in place by the end of the academic year. So once again, thank you for coming. And we're just delighted to have you, and we hope that this is the first of many visits that you will make to the center and to Medgar Evers College for center activities. Thank you.
Thank you. And we hope you will drop by.
At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the president of Medgar Evers College, Dr. Edison O. Jackson, who will bring greetings. For those of you who have not had the pleasure of hearing our president speak before, he's quite a dynamic speaker. He's brought new visions to the college, and he firmly believes in the power of education as a transformer in human lives. And he has done many things to help us transform the services that we bring to the community. He has been a great help to us in developing the center. We could not have asked for a better ally and a better leader. So at this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our president, Dr. Edison O. Jackson.
To Dr. Phoenix, Dr. Taeger, Dr. Mays, Dr. Asante, and Mrs. Evelyn Calabella, Assemblyman Roger Green, and members of this distinguished assembly. It is my pleasure and honor to offer words of greeting on the occasion of the opening of the Africana Resource Center at the great Medgar Evers College. This is the beginning of a series of lectures, and I cannot think of a better person to begin and kick off our lecture series than Dr. Asante. He is a scholar. He is a symbol of hope as we develop the new canon of Africana studies and African studies across these United States. He embraces the concept of excellence and quality, concepts that we must embrace if we are going to move our people up and allow us to move from the conditions in which we find so many of ourselves in today. And Medgar Evers College is committed to making a difference in what happens in this community. As Dr. Phoenix has indicated, I believe that education has the capacity to transform an individual, a people, and a nation, and that our students come to us to have their lives transformed. And therefore, we have a tremendous responsibility to make a difference. Education is one of the noblest of the professions. And we here at Medgar Evers College, we are committed to embracing that philosophy, those concepts, and making a difference in the world of higher education. And let me thank Dr. Phoenix and Dr. Taeger for the fine work that you both have done and bring about the creation of an idea first. And then you gave words, and then action gave life to an idea. And that is, you gave it out of love and a commitment to the cause. So it is my pleasure and our pleasure to welcome you here this evening. And this is just the beginning of something wonderful, marvelous, that's happening in Brooklyn, New York. Thank you very much.
This time, I'd like to invite Mrs. Evelyn Calabala to bring remarks to the group. Evelyn is representing tonight our resource board. She's also the director of the Office of Multicultural Education for New York City Board of Education, New York City Public Schools. She has been a tremendous help to us in providing areas that we can use to further our resources and materials and directing us to the literature that's already available on curriculum. And she's just been a tremendous friend and a tremendous asset, as have all the members of our resource board. So at this time, on behalf of the resource board, I'd like to present Evelyn Calabala, who will bring remarks.
Thank you. It's a distinct pleasure for me to be here on behalf of the board and as well as the New York City Public Schools and to be part of this African Resource Center. It's something that in multicultural education we certainly believe will benefit all of the children of New York City, but in particular the African American students in our public schools. We believe that one must first get to know who you are before you can begin to understand and appreciate others and build on what we talk about in the city as racial harmony. So I think that the Resource Center here at Medgar Evers will be a step in African American children beginning to understand and appreciate themselves, then moving on to understand others. The Resource Center will be a great asset for teachers, administrators, parents, and the community of Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant, and Crown Heights, and we welcome it. It is indeed a time where we must begin to work together, the public schools and all agencies, because of the limited financial assets that we have at this time. We have to come together, collaborate, work with the universities, work with the public schools, work with the parents in order that the children of New York City will benefit from an excellent education that they deserve. I look forward to working with Dr. Jackson, Dr. Taeger, Dr. Mays, and Dr. Phoenix in bringing to the children of our city the resources that they so surely deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evelyn. At this time, I would like to acknowledge the other members of our resource board who are present with us this evening. Because of the really demanding schedules on so many of them, they were not able to attend. However, we are pleased to have with us, as you've already met, Evelyn Calabella and Luberta Mays. And also seated in the first row, I'd like to introduce Dr. Zala Chandler from the Division of Humanities. Inside your packet, you'll notice our brochure. And the beautiful artwork on the brochure, the face was taken from, what would you exactly call it, a lithograph? From a lithograph that was done by Dr. Chandler. And Florence and I were both so much in love with it, we just said it had to be a symbol of what we were all about. And Zala graciously agreed to let us use it. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Adam Abdallah, who is with us from the Division of Education. And Professor Bennett, I don't believe is here. I don't see Yvonne this evening, but she's been working so hard on so many projects, both for us and for the college, that we understand. Next, I'd like to introduce the President of Student Government. You know how important students are. Medgar is a family, and we really can't do anything unless faculty, staff, and students pull together. And a tremendous resource on our board has been Wallace Deloach, who is also a student in the Education Division and President of the Student. We're delighted to have with us this evening Richard Green, who is Executive Director of the Crown Heights Youth Collective, again, a valuable community resource. Don't see Delridge, so I know Delridge is off on various assignments on the weekend for the college. We are happy that Willie Jones is here. Willie is our oral historian and just, I don't know, he's our resident all-around idea man. And he has brought so many ideas to us and so many resources, I don't even begin to know how to describe all of them. But I would like to introduce Willie Jones from the Concerned Brooklyn Musicians. Chandra Llewellyn is not here. I have not seen her tonight. I know she wanted to be here, but in her new position as Director of Youth Services for the National Urban League, she is also another one who is quite busy. Dr. Roderick Loney had planned to be with us this evening, but he's away not only from us, but for the college for the next 6 weeks, recuperating from an accident, but we wish him Godspeed. You met Dr. Mays. I haven't seen Elizabeth tonight. Is Dr. Omalati here? Barbara Omalati? I expect that she will be here before the evening is over, because we saw her today. She was one of the first visitors to the center when it opened, and she said she'd be here tonight. And Deborah Wright, I haven't seen Deborah tonight. Is Deborah here? She's not feeling well as well. Okay, so that is our resource board. They have all been invaluable resources to us, and of course, without the Aaron Diamond Foundation, who graciously gave us the grant that is supporting the Africana Resource Center, there would be no center. So they have certainly been one of our most tremendous resources, is the Aaron Diamond Foundation, and we gratefully acknowledge their support. At this time, I would like to introduce a group that is very, very dear to me. I first heard this group about 2 years ago when my oldest daughter began school at Hunter High School. These are 5 young ladies from the Hunter High School chorus who got together and formed their own group. They're absolutely fantastic. I won't say anything else because their music speaks for itself. But would you please give a big round of applause and welcome Revelation.
sadly attend Hunter College High School. We're going to perform 3 songs for you this evening. The first will be Jikale Mawani, which is a song that Miriam Makeba recorded in the 70s. And it's a song of the Xhosa people in South Africa. The second song is entitled More Than a Paycheck, and it was written by Isai Maria Barnwell of Sweet Honey in the Rock. And the last song will be Traveling Shoes, which is a traditional gospel number.
Surely, maybe for you.
children before they really been conceived. We bring more than a paycheck. We bring more than a paycheck. We bring more than just a traveling shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes. Traveling shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes. I can travel now. Got on my traveling shoes. That I can travel now. Got on my traveling shoes. Traveling shoes. Well, shoes come riding by my mother's door and say, come on, Mama, are you ready to go? Well, my mama stooped down and she buckled up her shoes. I said she counted up her course and began to move. My mother moved on down by the Jordan Street, and she cried, oh Lord, I have been redeemed. She said, Lord, I done my duty. I got on my traveling shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes. Said I can travel now. Got on my traveling shoes. Said I can travel now. Got on my traveling shoes. Traveling shoes. Well, shoes come riding by the sinner's door and say, come on, sinner, you ready to go? Well, that sinner stooped down, but he didn't have no shoes. I said he counted up his course and began to move. The sinner moved on down by the Jordan Street, and he cried, oh Lord, I ain't been redeemed. Well, now water started creeping up high to his knees, and he cried, oh Lord, don't you take me, please. I said now water started creeping up high to his side, and he cried, oh Lord, I ain't ready to die. Well, now water started creeping up high to his waist, and he cried, oh Lord, I need you. Amazing grace. I said now water started creeping up high to his chest, and he cried, oh Lord, I ain't done my best. Well, now water started creeping up high to his neck, and he cried, oh Lord, don't you take me yet. Now water started creeping up high to his chin, and along came death and she pushed him in. Well, now water started creeping up high over his head, and he cried, oh Satan, making up his dying bed. Lord, I ain't done my duty. I ain't got no traveling shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes. Said I can travel now. Got on my traveling shoes. Said I can travel now. Got on my traveling shoes. Traveling shoes. Well, shoes go riding by my daddy's door and say, come on, Daddy, are you ready to go? Don't you know my daddy stooped down and he buckled up his shoes? I said he counted up his course and began to move. My daddy moved on down by the Jordan Street, and he cried, oh Lord, I have been redeemed. He said, Lord, I done my duty. I got on my traveling shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes. Said I can travel now. Got on my traveling shoes. Said I can travel now. Got on my traveling shoes. Traveling shoes. Traveling shoes. Traveling shoes. Traveling shoes.
Johnson-Reagan. I hope if you know it, you'll sing along. Somewhere there's a child crying. Somewhere there's a child crying. Somewhere
child crying, crying for freedom in South Africa. And oh, my mother's mourning, oh, my mother's mourning, oh, my mother's mourning. Child struck down dead in South Africa. And somewhere there's a child crying, somewhere there's a child crying, somewhere there's a child crying, crying for freedom in South Africa. And they killed Stephen Biko this morning. They killed Stephen Biko this morning. They killed Stephen Biko this morning. Died for freedom in South Africa. And somewhere there's a child crying. Somewhere there's a child crying. Somewhere there's a child crying, crying for freedom in South Africa. And they freed Nelson Mandela this morning. They freed Nelson Mandela this morning. They freed Nelson Mandela this morning. Freedom is coming to South Africa. There's a new day coming. There's a new day coming. There's a new day coming. I got freedom on my mind. I got freedom on my mind. Gonna take my freedom in the morning. Somewhere there are children rejoicing. Somewhere there are children rejoicing. Somewhere there are children rejoicing. Freedom is coming to South Africa. There's a new day coming. There's a new day coming. There's a new day coming. I got freedom on my mind. I got freedom on my mind. Gonna take my freedom in the morning. Somewhere there are children rejoicing. Somewhere there are children rejoicing. Somewhere there are children rejoicing. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming.
Every time I hear them, I have this reaction. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Before I call Dr. Taeger back to the microphone to introduce our keynote speaker, I would like to direct your attention also again in your pocket folders. There is a single sheet called Acknowledgements. And since I made the terrible mistake of getting all the way up here without my copy of it, I won't attempt to remember every name there. But every name that you see on that sheet has been such a tremendous help to us in putting this night and the center itself together. Medgar College is a real family. And so a number of the people that you see on the list are members of our family. They may not be on the resource board, but they have really spent a lot of time and a lot of effort and really many hours in helping us reach this point. So we wanted to acknowledge them. Many of you are here tonight, especially because of the excellent publicity that we got, especially with Dr. Betty Shabazz, who got us in two of the really big papers and several other papers in New York City, and also Ms. Marjorie Battle, who was nice enough to interview us on Medgar College television last week. And we got so many calls and so many responses from both of those that I have to publicly acknowledge their fine support and help to us in putting tonight together. But everyone that you see on that list has been wonderful to us, and we wanted you to know about them, and especially for those who are vendors, if you can throw their little business their way, it would help us to say thank you back to them for their support. And now at this time, I would like to introduce once again Dr. Florence Taeger, who will introduce our keynote lecturer.
a while ago, I was reading a magazine, and in a recent article, it stated that in the 60s, the battle for equality was forged in the streets, and in the 90s, the battle is being fought in the classroom. And I thought about that, and I thought that was like really a really profound statement in a way, because when we think of the 90s, people are always saying we have no leaders, there's no struggle, we don't have what happened in the 60s. And I think that that's not quite true, because there is something going on. There's something going on that was started a long time ago that was talked about by Carter G. Woodson when he said that if you control a man's thinking, you don't have to tell him which door to go into. So with that beginning, and with thinking about that, I want to introduce the speaker who I feel is waging this battle in the classroom, this battle for equality, this battle for human dignity. And I would like to introduce Dr. Molefi Asante, who last week in Newsweek was highlighted for some of the work that he's doing, and there's a copy of the article in Newsweek in your folders. Dr. Asante is professor and chairperson, Department of African American Studies at Temple University in Philadelphia. He is author of 29 books. The latest one is the Historical and Cultural Atlas of African Americans, published by Macmillan and Company. There's a copy of it in our resource center. You can take a look at it. It's quite interesting. Dr. Asante received his PhD at 26 and was appointed a full professor at 30. He's the creator of the first doctoral program in African American Studies in the world, and more than 100 scholarly articles, and the founder of the Afrocentric Philosophical Movement and the National Afrocentric Institute. He has directed 37 doctoral students, many of them served in important posts throughout the world. Dr. Asante was born in Georgia in the United States, educated at UCLA, and served in Zimbabwe as a trainer of journalists. He's a poet, dramatist, painter, and gardener. His work on African culture and philosophy has been cited by the Journal of Black Studies, the Western Journal of Black Studies, Newsweek, the Chronicle of Higher Education, the National Council for Black Studies, the New York Times, and many other significant publications and television shows. He's regularly quoted on issues involving the African world. Dr. Asante is consultant for Baltimore and Washington, D.C. school districts for rewriting the curriculum. And so tonight I'd like to bring him to speak to you at the opening of our Africana Resource Center. I wish to introduce Dr. Molefi Asante.
Assemblyman Roger Green, President Edison Jackson, Doctors Florence, Taeger, and Charlotte Phoenix, Dr. Calabale, Dr. Mays, the Hunter College High School 5, all of you, those of you whom I know and will get to know. This is a wonderful occasion, the opening of the Africana Resources Center at Medgar Evers College. And so I come to you in the name of our ancestors, far and near, the fathers of our fathers, the mother of our mothers, those who have made it possible for us to even get here tonight, because it is upon their shoulders that we stand. We are the children of the ones that could not be killed. And so we have come tonight on this great occasion to talk about the African contribution to the Americas. I had another presentation, and I had thought I was giving another one until I read the program. So I hope you bear with me. This one I don't have any notes on, but I think I can give it. Last night I was with Dinesh D'Souza in a debate at Vanderbilt University in Nashville. And after the debate, which I should just let you know, according to the audience, I won. Okay? But after the debate, what occurred to me was the fact that he knew very little about African American history or African American people. In fact, he knows very little about American history, having just come to this country, of course, in 1978. So the title of my presentation, which was given to me, it is no fault of the directors of the Africana Resources Center that I did not see it again until now, since last year. But the title of my presentation is apropos and specific for what I need to talk about tonight, because I think it's the same topic anyway. And I want to start you at the beginning of things. Just this morning, I read in the newspaper that another article will be coming out demonstrating that all of the human beings who are now living on the earth came from an African woman 200,000 years ago. Professor Stone King at Pennsylvania State University is now publishing another article. He had published an article previously along with Rebecca Cann and Alan Wilson, and that article was published in the Science magazine. Now this one is also going to be published in the Science magazine. Now this is on top of the fact that 3 days ago there appeared an article in the newspaper that said that they had found or discovered the body of a 4,000-year-old man in the Alps in Europe who was dark brown. One newspaper writer said that he was black, and then I read another one that said he was dark brown, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Dark brown, I mean black, we come in all variations. But the interesting thing about those two items, the 200,000-year-old record stating that all of the human beings who now live, 6 billion on the earth, can be traced back by mitochondrial DNA to one African woman in East Africa, and also the fact that they have discovered now between Austria and Italy this body mummified by the snow and the ice and the glaciers that's been there for 4,000 years, that's a black body, points to all of the information that we have been writing about, discussing, and also presenting in an intellectual way. Sheikh Anta Diop, whose name should never be forgotten by us, was one of the first people to begin in a scientific way to demonstrate not only the African origin of humanity, but the African origin of civilization as well. We have come now, in 1991, to a situation in which we have many people who know very little about that beginning, or if they know, will not tell. And we have also many individuals who know very little about our own history on this side in the Americas. And that's the story that I want to tell tonight. I want to try to do what I tried to do in the historical and cultural atlas of African Americans. I want to try to fit together for you in a systematic way the impact of the African world on the Americas. I want to try to give you a view which could be organic and a relationship that you can take with you and sort of understand how it's all put together. Don't think that we know how it's all put together. Because, as you know, if I were to ask high school students or college students today to identify the names of 5 African ethnic groups, most of them couldn't. But that is no great surprise because of the way we have been educated. But if I were to ask them to name 5 European ethnic groups, they will name 10. You know, Irish, Polish, you know, Flemish even. I mean, people go deep. They get deep on you. You know what I'm saying? Italian, so, right? But I mean, but the names of the African ethnic groups that comprise our populations. There were no African Americans 375 years ago. There were no Jamaicans. There were African people from African ethnic groups who comprise our population, and yet we don't know many times who these people were, or the names of the ethnic groups. Our children grow up in a society and have never heard Yoruba or Igbo or Ewe, Asante, Fante, Wolof. They have never known Mandinka, Congo, Douala. These are names that come out of our history. That these are the ethnic groups that comprise the African population in the Americas. And yet, they ought to be fundamental. I mean, how can we begin any process of information or knowledge about identity or anything if we don't start fundamentally with ourselves? Who are you, Fanon used to ask? And so, that is where we will begin. I will begin just out of convenience. Now, don't attack me later on for this. Because I have to say this because somebody's going to say, but you know, we were here in the 9th century BC. Okay, that's right. I know that. I know about the Olmecs. And don't attack me for not talking about the Spanish early on. But let's for convenience sake, let's take the date that is normally given when the first 20 Africans entered the English colony of Jamestown, 1619. We want to start with that. If that, we just agree on that, all right? Now, I can talk about Estevanico in 1534. I mean, we can go back and talk about the Africans who came with the Spaniards. We can talk about those who came before the Spaniards in 1311 and 1312 from Abubakari's kingdom, from the kingdom of Mali. We can talk about that. But let's talk right now about more a direct connection to the English colonists. And the reason people normally give 1619 as the date of the African presence on this side, at least in this country, is because the English won the war. Had the Spaniards won the war, then you would have another date. But the date that we normally give, 1619, Africans first enter Jamestown as indentured servants, not as slaves, not as enslaved, but as indentured servants to work for a few years, then buy their freedom if necessarily, gain their freedom. After about 60 years, we then get the process of the enslavement of the Africans, and that is that Africans were to be servants until death, in perpetuity. And their children and children's children would also be slaves unto death. Now, I want to put this together for you because I don't think that this story is reinforced. And I don't think our children on the streets know this story. I don't think they have been taught this story enough, and it has not been repeated to them. So let me take you back to the continent before we get to 1619. I want to just take you back to some general historical things, and then I want to bring you across the ocean. In 1482, when the Portuguese landed on the coast of Ghana, this was after they had, of course, gone to the Gambia River and had landed in what was now would be Senegal and Gambia, that region. But then later on, in 1482, they come in force and they take over a village. And The king of that village was Ansa, A-N-S-A-H. We should know this. This is the Portuguese come in. Ansa is there, and there had been a missionary there for several years from Portugal, and had learned the language of the Fanti people, and had gone back to Portugal, and came back with these ships. And when he came back, the King Ansa said, "We greet you with open arms. We bear no weapons." And the Portuguese destroyed their capital with cannons, and then began to build the first fort, Elmina. This is the same fortress, by the way, that Columbus stopped at before he came to Santo Domingo. Now, people don't understand this. I remember when I was growing up, I used to think that Columbus just came directly across to, Santo Domingo. No, he stopped in Africa. He was in Africa twice before he came this way. But you never get that picture. You don't get a picture of him coming to Africa. And he came to Africa largely, according to Patsy Jane, largely to consult with the mariners who had already been crossing the ocean for at least 150 years. I mean, it's logical, wouldn't you think? I mean, certainly the Portuguese have now coming down and occupying the area of Ghana. King Ansa's troops having been defeated, the Portuguese having exercised their authority to capture that land. And let me tell you this, there were over 300 battles of resistance on the part of Africans all the way from Mauritania down to what is now Angola against the European settlers who were coming into the west coast of Africa looking for people to enslave. We have not told our children this story. They don't understand this story. People in the society don't understand this story. You ask people, go out tomorrow, you ask someone, how do you think all these, how do you think we got here? You may be surprised. Somebody may tell you the Mayflower. I'm serious. You go out and talk to people and find out, do they have an understanding of how we got here? And not only an understanding, but the historical roots of it, which I may get to later on, but I'm not going to get to right now. I just want to give you set the stage. 1482. And this is when the European slave trade begins in earnest. When it began in earnest, it was largely a situation in which Europeans came into the coast of Africa, raided villages, and took people and forced them onto ships. Now, I want to stop here because there is also another piece of information, which is misinformation, that I have heard, and you need to have it in your minds. We need to know about it and be able to deal with it, because I've heard African American students in college say to me, but didn't Africans sell other Africans? I mean, in fact, some people use that as a reason why they don't want to have dealings with continentals today. They tell you, I don't want to have anything to do with Africans because didn't Africans sell us? Now, they're Africans themselves. You see what I'm saying? Talking about, didn't Africans sell us? The thing is that that's what is being read in textbooks for high school. I read a number of history books for high school history, American history, and they have in there a passage which says that the reason that we have had slavery in this country, that's what they say, is because there were Africans who sold other Africans. Now, let me tell you two things. There's no culture, no kingdom, no government, no nation in Africa that ever had slavery as a principal mode of its production. You can't name one. Second thing about this in terms of the European slave trade, there were probably Africans who were involved with the slave trade. I'm sure there were. You got Africans who were involved with the South African police. But the enterprise was not their enterprise. The major enterprise and the energy and the dynamics of that enterprise was a European enterprise, and that enterprise laid the material foundations, the economic foundations for America, for Europe, for the cities, whether you're talking about the industrialization of the Northeast, or whether you're talking about the building of plantations in the South. The basis for that was this European slave trade itself. When Africans were placed on ships, and these were not big ships, sometimes you would have 800 to 1,000 people packed on a ship. Now you have to understand this business. You go get 100